Hello, friends. I am Manish Anand. The risinahills.com does a daily analysis of the editorials carried in India's top 5 English newspapers. Today I'm back with this daily broadcast. But before we begin this broadcast, let me mention that none of the newspapers have come out with edits on Supreme Court's observations against the suspended BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma, which was trending yesterday on all the social media platforms, while raising serious questions on judiciary, which has come under public attack from certain sections. While some gaps in jurisprudence is also visible in the context of freedom of speech and expression, though there is a caveat that this fundamental right is not absolute. Friends, the Times of India has carried a lead editorial on the anti-defection law in the context of the political developments in Maharashtra. The anti-defection law, as we have written on several occasions in the risinahills.com, is essentially an ornamental artifact with its teeth broken by the political parties which aim to revoke the people's mandate with their post-poll machinations. TUI in its edit notes that the anti-defection law, which was inserted in the 10th schedule of the Constitution in 1986 when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister of the country, and further amended by the Parliament in 2003 when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was Prime Minister, has only turned the legislatures into costly commodities. Yes, they are now selling at much higher prices, while the Ayaram and Gayaram politics continues in the country. Now one MLA will cost crores of rupees when there are attempts to change the government in a state. The edit has rightly questioned different yardsticks in response of key players, which in the case of anti-defection law is the Speaker of the Assembly, Governor of the state and the judiciary, the Supreme Court in particular. They have all acted differently to incidents of defections in political parties in the recent years. Friends, the larger question here is, do we need an anti-defection law? For its purpose to end Ayaram-Gayaram trend in politics stands defeated, or the law is essentially flawed and only a cover for the political parties to shield internal democracy, or rather lack of internal democracy. A seasoned political observer who happens to be a long-term friend of mine, who worked closely with titans of Indian democracy in 1990s like Indrajit Ray, Sushma Swaraj and others, he reacted very sharply yesterday in the evening after reading the analysis of the editorials and lamented that the newspapers are ignoring the basic fact that the laws of the country are not at all supporting the growth of healthy democracy in the country. He said that India is the only country in the world to have such a law. In UK, dissidents in a party can knock the doors of committees of the political parties to raise their grievances, which can act further. It is not that all democratic rights are forfeited by elected representatives to the presidents of the parties, but that actually is the case in India. Did Eknath Shinde push for removal of Uddhav Thackeray as Chief Minister of Maharashtra or as President of Shiv Sena for compromising party's core ideology, which was given mandate by the people, or did any such scope even exist? I don't think any party in the country has any system wherein the legislatures, the elected representatives, can raise their grievances and which can be examined without consequences for such people. The recourse in the country is that the party will constitute a disciplinary committee which will be pliable to the president of the party, and after a few years it will the issue will be forgotten. Anti-defection law also remains vague. Is it for the purpose of recognizing a splinter group or for the merger with another party? That question is also very unclear, friends, in the context of so many changes of the government since 2016 that we have seen, beginning from Arunachal Pradesh. Cynicism against the anti-defection law is truly deserved for the ways governments in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh changed in the recent years, which indeed make the people's votes irrelevant. In fact, the Supreme Court had acted very differently, in fact, by restoring the Congress government in 2016, even while two-thirds of its legislatures had defected. They had gone to the BJP. So we have a case here where the judiciary is responding to such cases differently. The governor in the state is giving sometimes 2 days, 5 days, a week, 2 weeks to the ruling party to prove its majority on the floor of the assembly. That we have seen in the case of Karnataka, that we have seen in the case of Maharashtra. So the office of the Speaker of the Assembly again is a very powerful position in the events of the change of the governments by such means where legislatures defect on a larger scale. In fact, the Speaker is basically a nominee of the ruling party, and he gives order on the basis of the likes and the conveniences of the ruling party, which may be contrary to the larger spirits of democracy. So somehow the offices of governor, the speaker, and even the judiciary's different responses have made the anti-defection law completely irrelevant. Friends, the Pioneer has carried an audit on the COVID-19 cases, and it has noted that India has gone past 1 lakh active COVID-19 cases after a gap of 122 days on Thursday. And the country logged 18,000 cases in a single day after 130 days. The Pioneer, in its audit, has rightly cautioned the people, while noting that BA.5 variant of Omicron, which made pandemic leap in South Africa ferociously, has been found in Delhi. It was found in Telangana in the month of May. Virologists had in fact warned earlier that the fourth wave of the COVID-19, which currently India is in, should peak by the end of June, and it would be hoped that India would learn to live with the virus by following the best practices, including personal hygiene, vaccination, and adhering to the mask protocol. Friends, much has been seen about the climate change, and Indian Express has carried a commentary on the US Supreme Court overturning 50-year-old Environmental Protection Agency's provisions on the lines of Roe versus Wade, which had given abortion rights to the women of America. The US President Joe Biden's bid to take the global leadership in climate change response, which was abandoned by his predecessor, Donald Trump, by withdrawing from the Paris Declaration, now faces major hurdle ahead of COP27 summit in Sharm el-Sheikh. Biden's USD $555 billion for clean energy project also stands stalled by Senate. The Indian Express has noted, while Biden's administration is banking on Cold War era law to operationalize adoption of green technologies in the country. Friends, this has come in the wake of developed countries lecturing the developing countries, including India, on climate change response. India only has 17% of the global population and accounts for less than 5% of carbon emission, while the developed countries, despite having only 17% of the population, contributes over 40% of the carbon emission. Friends, Deccan Herald has also carried one audit on Niti Aayog's recent report on gig workers. Friends, gig workers are those people like the delivery boys who may be coming to your houses from Flipkart and Amazon. and also the Ola and Uber cab drivers. The report had called for extending social security net for such workers. Their strength is likely to go close to 3 crore in the country by 2030. The Deccan Herald, in fact, is quite mild in accepting the recommendation of the Niti Aayog because in America, such workers are treated as employees, and in India, they are not even extended basic provisions like accidental insurance when the online companies are insisting them to deliver the goods within 15 or 5 minutes. So we are in a very piquant situation here. So friends, this was your daily broadcast on the editorials carried in the newspapers. I'll be back with the next episode tomorrow. Do share your feedback on the YouTube, and also share the link with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.